is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving, what is something you're involved with? In which I see myself. In the situation involving, in which I see myself. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Think of something that you're kind of concerned about. Say, in the situation involving, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving, fill in the blank, in which I see myself. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving, in which my friends see themselves. Pick something about that's happened to somebody else in your life and apply it to them. In the situation involving whatever, in which whoever sees him or herself. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving, in which I see myself. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. And then somebody else. In the situation involving, in which whoever sees himself. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. And then maybe some related thoughts that you can add to it, like the one he gave us was, there is nothing my holiness cannot do, because the power of God lies in it. There is nothing my holiness cannot do, for I am one with the power of the universe. There is nothing my holiness cannot do, because God is supporting of every feeling I have. There is nothing my holiness cannot do, because the strength of God goes with me. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Fill in a few. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There's nothing my holiness cannot do. Well, think of some situations today of things that You don't know how you'd possibly do them. And then remind yourself. Let's make sure I tell you right. In this situation involving blank in which I see myself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. And in this situation that in this situation that blank, whatever the situation that somebody that you know is going through, and then name them. There is nothing my holiness cannot do in this situation involving whatever it is, in which whoever it is sees him or herself. Tell yourself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Okay, well, we just did one of our 5-minute practice periods, if you actually did it with me as I sang it. We'll try to do another one at the end. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. And I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks. Here we're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version for Saturday, February the 7th of 2026, Lesson 38. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. It is beyond every restriction of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. Your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as a son of God, at one with the mind of His Creator. Through your holiness, the power of God is made manifest. Through your holiness, the power of God is made available. And there is nothing the power of God cannot do. Your holiness then can remove all pain, can end all sorrow, and can solve all problems. It can do so in connection with yourself and with anyone else. It is equal in its power to help anyone because it is equal in its power to save anyone. If you are holy, so is everything God created. You are holy because all things He created are holy. And all things He created are holy because you are. In today's exercises, we will apply the power of your holiness to all problems, difficulties, or suffering in any form that you happen to think of in yourself or in someone else. We will make no distinctions between other people and ourselves because there are no distinctions. Number 4. In the 4 longer practice periods, each preferably to last a full 5 minutes, repeat the idea for today. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Close your eyes and then search your mind for any sense of loss or unhappiness of any kind as you see it. Try to make as little distinction as possible between a situation that is difficult for you and one that is difficult for someone else. Identify the situation specifically and also the name of the person concerned. Use this form in applying the idea for today. In the situation involving blank in which I see myself, there is nothing that my holiness cannot do. Or in the situation involving blank in which whoever sees him or herself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. From time to time, you may want to vary this procedure and add some relevant thoughts of your own. You might like, for example, to include thoughts such as, there is nothing my holiness cannot do because the power of God lies in my holiness. Introduce whatever variations appeal to you, but keep the exercises focused on the theme. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. And I like to think of that, like I've already told you, my sacred wholeness, my connection with everything makes me a part of the constant and never-changing, always expanding, always joyful presence of God. The wholeness. Sacred wholeness is holiness. Introduce whatever variations appeal to you, but keep the exercises focused on the theme, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. The purpose of today's exercises is to begin to instill in you a sense that you have dominion over all things, because of what you are. In the frequent shorter applications, apply the idea in its original form unless a specific problem concerns you or someone else arises or comes to mind. In that event, use the more specific form in applying the idea for today. So throughout the day, he just wants you to say to yourself, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. And if something does come to your mind, if something that looks to be like a problem, well, then apply it specifically to that person or to yourself. And then follow up with, but that there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Wow, our sacred wholeness, our at one-ment with God, with love, with all of us. Atonement. Okay, let's go take a look in chapter 4, The Illusions of the Ego, Roman numeral 7, Creation and Communication. And for you multiple year students, if you want to, I used the word assignment yesterday. It's not really an assignment as much as just if you want to get through it in a year, which I would encourage you to do. Then read today, original edition, chapter 4, paragraph or section 8. Mark chapter 10 in the Bible, Iyengar Yoga. Let's spend a couple days on 54 and 55. A Course of Love, chapter 9. And read from paragraph 33 to paragraph 39. You do all that along with your lesson, but do your lesson mainly. I can't encourage that enough, at least for your first year students. And second year and third year, if you haven't done it the way you said, do it. Do it one year totally right. Keep doing it every year until you get it done right. You'll be enlightened. I feel pretty confident in saying that you'll reach that state that the yogis call samadhi. Okay, let's go. Creation and communication. It is clear that while the content of any particular ego illusion does not matter, its correction is more helpful in a specific context. Ego illusions are quite specific, although the mind is naturally abstract. Part of the mind becomes concrete, however, when it splits. The concrete part believes in the ego because the ego depends on the concrete. The ego is the part of the mind that believes your existence is defined by separation. 2. Everything the ego perceives is a separate whole, without the relationship that imply being. Everything the ego perceives is a separate whole, without the relationships that imply being. The ego is thus against communication, except insofar as it is utilized to establish separateness rather than to abolish it. The communication system of the ego is based on its own thought system, as is everything else it dictates. Its communication is controlled by its need to protect itself, and it will disrupt communication when it experiences threat. This disruption is a reaction to a specific person or persons. The specificity of the ego's thinking, then, results in spurious generalization, which is really not abstract at all. It merely responds in certain specific ways to everything it perceives as related. Paragraph 3. In contrast, spirit reacts in the same way to everything it knows is true and does not respond at all to anything else, nor does it make an attempt to establish what is true. It knows that what is true is everything that God created. It is in complete and direct communication with every aspect of creation, because it is in complete and direct communication with its Creator. And that's what we want to do today when we recognize that there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Realize our oneness with all creation because we're in oneness with our Creator. This communication is the will of God. Creation and communication are synonymous. God created every mind by communicating His mind to it. thus establishing it forever as a channel for the reception of His mind and will. Since only beings of a like order can truly communicate, His creations naturally communicate with Him and like Him. This communication is perfectly abstract, since its quality is universal in application and not subject to any judgment, any exception, or any alteration. God created you by this and for this. The mind can distort its function, but it cannot endow itself with functions it was not given. That is why the mind cannot totally lose the ability to communicate, even though it may refuse to utilize it on behalf of being. 4. Existence as well as being rests on communication. Existence, however, is specific in how, what, and with whom communication is judged to be worth undertaking. Being is completely without these distinctions. It is a state in which the mind is in communication with everything that is real. To whatever extent you permit this state to be curtailed, you are limiting your sense of your own reality, which becomes total only by recognizing all reality in the glorious context of its real relationship to you. This is your reality. Do not desecrate it or recoil from it. It is your real home, your real temple, and your real self. 5. God, who encompasses all being, created beings who have everything individually, but who want to share it to increase their joy. Nothing real can be increased except by sharing. That is why God created you. Divine abstraction takes joy in sharing. That is what creation means. How, what, and to whom are irrelevant, because real creation gives everything, since it can create only like itself. Let's read that again. God, who encompasses all being, created beings who have everything individually, but who want to share it to increase their joy. Nothing real can be increased except by sharing. That is why God created you. Divine abstraction takes joy in sharing. That is what creation means. How, what, and to whom are irrelevant, because real creation gives everything, since it can create only like itself. Remember that in the kingdom, there is no difference between having and being, as there is in existence. In the state of being, the mind gives everything always. The Bible, paragraph 6, the Bible repeatedly states that you should praise God. Some places it says that, Psalms 100, Psalm 148, and Psalm 150. This hardly means that you should tell Him how wonderful He is. He has no ego with which to accept such praise, and no perception with which to judge it. But unless you take your part in the creation, His joy is not complete because yours is incomplete. And this He does know. He knows it in His own being and its experience of His Son's experience. The constant going out of His love is blocked when His channels are closed, and He is lonely when the minds He created do not communicate fully with Him. 7. God has kept your kingdom for you, but He cannot share His joy with you until you know it with your whole mind. Holiness. Revelation is not enough, because it is only communication from God. God does not need revelation returned to Him, which would clearly be impossible, but He does want it brought to others. This cannot be done with the actual revelation. Its content cannot be expressed, because it is intensely personal to the mind that receives it. It can, however, be returned by that mind to other minds through the attitudes the knowledge from the revelation brings. It's a long thought there. It can, however, be returned by the mind to other minds through the attitudes the knowledge from the revelation brings. And the last paragraph, 8. God is praised whenever any mind learns to be wholly helpful. This is impossible without being wholly harmless, because the two beliefs must coexist. The truly helpful are invulnerable because they are not protecting their egos, and so nothing can hurt them. Their helpfulness is their praise of God, and He will return their praise of Him because they are like Him, and they can rejoice together. God goes out to them and through them, and there is great joy throughout the kingdom. Every mind that is changed adds to this joy with its own individual willingness to share in it. The truly helpful are God's miracle workers, whom I direct until we are all united in the joy of the kingdom. I will direct you to wherever you can be truly helpful, and to whoever can follow my guidance through you. Wow, we're being guided to where we can be truly helpful, and to those who can hear the things that we have to tell them, that where God can help them through us. Well, that should give you some great heart to see how useful you are in following God. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on around the world today. Orthodox Christmas for some Orthodox Christians. Out of holidays and observances, I found it's Ballet Day, Barber Day, E-Day, Periodic Table Day, Harry Potter Book Night, Hug an Addict or an Alcoholic Day, Rose Day, Play Outside Day, Scout Sabbath, Play Outside Day, Send a Card to a Friend Day, Take Your Child to the Library Day, Wave all your fingers at your neighbor's day. Hey, wave your fingers. Tell your neighbors hi. And out of Seed Savers Exchange, I want to tell you about a Curcubito Pepo. I'm going to talk about a few squashes. They work really good on the bottom of your corn and your beans as a shade, and they grow fine out there at the base in your corn. And this is, we're talking about Table Queen. It's the acorn squash. Table Queen. This variety set the standard for acorn squash and started the trend for small individual fall squashes. The petite 1-pound furrowed, soft-shelled, high-quality fruits offer sweet orange flesh and are excellent for baking. The Iowa Seed Company of Des Moines, Iowa, introduced this historic variety, also known as Des Moines or Danish, in 1913. And it's an 80 to 90 day cultivar. And our word for peace today, we'll take it from our Welsh brothers and sisters. And it's Hedd, spelled H-E-D-D. Hedd be with you. Peace be with you. Hedd. Okay, let's do another one of our practices. And after we're finished, you can pause the recording and do it a little longer if you'd like. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving flea repellent, in which I see myself. That was last year. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. When Jessica was having that trouble, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving flea repellent, in which Jessica sees herself. That was a song I came up with last year when I was going through this lesson. But today we'll be doing, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving what's your problem, in which I see myself. Tell yourself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving in which herself. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. For instance, in the situation involving finances, in which my friend sees himself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Okay, you get the idea? There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Pick a few of them. In the situation involving there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving there is nothing my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving in which whoever sees him or herself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Pick another one. In the situation there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Let's do another one. In the situation involving situation involving there is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do, because the power of God lies in it. There is nothing my holiness cannot do, because love is our reality. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. And as our Welsh brothers and sisters say for peace, Heth be with you. Heth, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Heth.